Intimidating group. So we're celebrating on this day one of the most solemn days on the church calendar. A feast that talks about, and lets us imagine all of this, a woman who's standing here and then about 10 seconds later is lifted up into the sky. And off she goes, and off she goes, and off she goes. And my question has always been, where does she go? Right? I mean, are we seeing this body? Is she going like past the moon? Is she going up toward Mars? Is she heading toward Jupiter? And now, since we've got this even more powerful of all of the telescopes, is she going into far-off galaxies? Where is she going? What about this body? So we're celebrating something that's so much more, I think, than this event that we had to come up with because of a theological event. It had to make sense theologically, right? Because sin is the wages of death, and so this had to bring us absolutely, if this woman was born without sin, so she can't possibly suffer death, so we've got to have this celebration. Wonderful. And then we celebrate even more with this wonderful hymn, the Magnificat. We give it a Latin name, and it's so marvelous. This is the beautiful hymn of a woman who's about 14 or 15 years of age and never went to school for a single day. Not bad. Right? Say aye. Aye. And so, I think what we got is a problem of why the church has such a text like this. Why is it so important for us to have a text like the Magnificat? And especially, I think, because of one phrase. There are so many things that we can point to, but especially, the Almighty has done great things for me. Holy is his name. But this beautiful text, right, you would say to yourself, well, this is a text that certainly is talking about calming and redemption and loving. And it's such a wonderful, peaceful, loving text that 3 governments have said over a long period of time, you will not speak this text in public. In India, until 1965, under British law, and then for many years, under Indian law, you could not speak and you could not publish this text. In Guatemala, for almost 10 years, during the decade of the 1980s, you could not publish or discuss the text of the Magnificat. And finally in Argentina, these are just the ones we're going to mention their official governments. Argentina, you've all heard about the mothers on the Plaza de Mayo, right? The mothers of the desaparecidos. These people who were brutally sexually tortured in so many different ways, right? All kinds of wires shoved in every part of the body, electrified and then water thrown on them. That was a good way to spend a few months. They would take people for months like that. Or they would take them over the ocean. They would take them in a plane and shove them out of the plane. And the mothers of these people, who were then disappeared, desaparecidos, their names were completely eliminated from the books, from everything that ever existed, as if they had never even been on the planet. And as the mothers put up the words of the Magnificat on posters in the Plaza de Mayo, the official government, 1975 until 1983, and Argentinians tell me even after that, the governments absolutely forbade that anybody see this text. Absolutely forbade that it be discussed in any way, shape, or form. And so the question becomes, here we have an invented text. We're celebrating on a feast day that is very much an invented feast day. And we can say, I'm not one to argue. I don't know. Maybe this really did happen. But the question is, why is this so controversial? What is the big deal about this text? And it's very simple. It's Mary saying, I represent all of God's weakest people. God's Anawim. The weakest, the defenseless, those who don't have a voice, those who can't speak up. I represent these people. The Almighty has done great things for me, and holy is his name. If there's anything that we've heard over this last day, That has been the constant message in this church, that we stand for all of those who don't have a voice, for all of those who have been pushed to the side, and we stand for those who are not even represented. We stand for women who are unwedded, who have children. We do stand for all of those who are divorced and have been denied the sacraments. So many who have been denied the sacraments. We stand for gays and lesbians. We stand for married people who are denied the priesthood. We stand for all of those who are told time and time again, you can't because. Whatever it happened to be, and you can fill it in. You can't because. You can't do this. And so, as I've even heard a couple of times over this, but I've actually said it myself many times in the past, we weaponize the sacraments. We weaponize the faith, and we weaponize Jesus. And here's Mary. The Almighty has done great things for me, and blessed is his name. Holy is his name. What does she do that's so great? Simply, she confesses publicly, and she allows herself to be guided. And she says, I am standing up for all of those who cannot stand up because we don't have positions of authority, we don't have power, we don't have money, we don't have control, we do not command, we do not rule, and so therefore we have no voice. And what is even worse, people look down then and say, you have no voice. Not only do we have to feel it, then we have to hear other people say it to us directly. You have no voice. I will not listen to you. I will not pray with you. I will not let you into my church. I will not let you near my people. I will keep you out. And Mary simply represents the fact that we as a church reach out to all of the lowest and the most needy. I never thought I would ever stand in a church where the goal of the church not only is said but is lived, where we take in everybody. That's what immediately called my attention to the ANCC. Immediately. Everybody is equal. No matter what your status, you can be a leader. You can be someone who can participate in every aspect of the church. Nothing will keep you outside the church. And there's no need to have to defend Jesus. I remember once when I was a Jesuit regent, right? So we had to teach in a high school for 3 years. And I remember I was into St. Peter's Prep in Jersey City. I was in Puerto Rico for a year, then St. Peter's Prep. And when the high school boys were kind of fooling around, as they'll do and so forth, right? So you know, high school teacher, right? So I had a meeting that afternoon with my spiritual director, Father Tom Burke, who was about 83 years old. And Burke is sitting there and he's rocking in his chair, and here's the Stefano in his right tremendous 20-year-old wisdom. Those kids, I'm going to crucify those kids. I'm going to give them so many days of detention. I'm going to make them write compositions. And there's Burke, rocking in his chair, and the 83-year-old. When I get a hold of those kids, I'm going to show. All of a sudden, this 83-year-old man lunges out of the chair, and he puts his finger about a billionth of an inch away from the eyes, and he says to me, now you listen to me. Jesus is a big boy. Thank you very much. He can take care of himself. All you need to do is learn how to love those boys. Oh. And here we are, 40 years later. I'm living it in a church that really is living the reality of that situation. I don't need to defend Jesus. I don't need to come up with a theological explanation for if there's no sin, then the body has to be holy and sacred, and it needs to be assumed. I simply need to love and trust in God's goodness and kindness. And that is the message of Mary, who never had any schooling, who, as far as we know, never did anything great, except for the fact that she said yes to God. period. So I think the invitation for all of us today, and we've already said it, we've already made that decision because we're here. But the special invitation is, what is your particular gift that you can bring, that I hope you will feel in a special way energized on this day? What is it that God has given you that is so special that only you can give to the people that you come in contact with in the place where you are now? And if you don't do it, if I don't do it for fear, because people have told us, you're not worthy, you're bad, put it to the side. If we don't do it, it doesn't get done. Period. That's part of Jesus' mission that is not fulfilled. And so my final invitation to you is, what's the choice of the theology we're going to take? I can perhaps see you after Mass. You know what? You're absolutely right, Mark. You know, I've got to go out there. I'm going to stand on the lawn. I'm still looking for that body. Now she's well off, far into galaxy beyond galaxy, right? It's been 2,000 years, so she's still up there going to heaven, wherever that is, right? She's off. Or I can step back and I can simply say, thank you, Mary, for your kindness, and help me to say yes the way you said yes, especially to God's poor. And of course the threat was to all those who are in power. And it's not that we want to remove those in power. The message is simple. Those who are in power chose not to listen to the voice of God. They pushed God aside because they had money, and because they were in charge, and because they commanded everything. But the message is simple. That's not what God wants. At least that's what I propose. That's what I hope we believe in as a church. That's what I'm sure we believe in as the American National Catholic Church. So God bless you. I hope that you'll join me with that theology. I'm grateful for this chance to be able to share it.